Yes, back again with the periscope. Pat Stebbin periscope. What up? What up? What up? What up? What is going on, guys? What's going on? We had a long walk today with the baby, and well, so what? We were having fun. So what? We were having fun, you know? It's a beautiful day. This isn't even a spring day. This is like a summer day. 79 degrees. Although you can feel now as the sun goes down, the temperature drop quite a bit. So it might just get a little cool as we go in here. We've got a big tasting today, but there's not a lot of detail around it. So right now we have 4 Gavi to go. What's going on here? 4 Gavis. Well, I was gonna do 3, and then I saw my dad had another one, so I figured, you know what, throw it in there. Why not? I mean, we're gonna vacuumate these anyway and drink them over the next couple days. So let's look at this real quick. I'll tell you about the Gavi. The Gavi. Okay, this is a pretty standard Piemonte wine. I think it's probably it's the Cortese grape, and this is basically the white wine of Piemonte. Now, for a period of time, it was very important as an export wine for Italy before Friuli and Trentino Alto Adige came on the scene. But this grape is pretty neutral on its own, but once they started to restrict yields, I find that it's very, very bright, very crisp acidity kind of wine. Now you look at this right here, and you can see they're mostly the same color, except for this one is a little bit more of like a lemon lime instead of a lemon color. I am not expecting this to taste very different from each other, but I'm curious about the last one that has a different color. Gavi's not so complex. It's a very nice wine. It's a very solid white wine to be drinking, but we haven't really been able to determine. There aren't really any producers that are making Gavi that is interesting. Let's put it that way. Taylor, it's all about the blocking. It's all about the blocking. I block so many people now, and it's the best thing I ever did. I don't even know why for a long period of time I thought that was a bad thing. Some people just have trash energy, and they come onto your timeline, and they're stupid. You know, especially having to deal with people who are like really sucked into the Rollo Rianne world. It's like you give them a chance, but you know, if you're gonna suck those guys' dick, I'm just gonna block you. I mean, I'm not saying, look, you guys can read their stuff or whatever, you can follow. You're free to choose that, but don't, if you're gonna be like commenting like a little sycophant in my comments, like you're out. Like I'm just gonna block you. I don't give a fuck. So anyway, first glass. It's very bright, as you'd expect, very appley. A little thin, not in a bad way. All right, it's fine. Solid stuff. That was this Gavi right here. Ooh, all right. So this next one has a nice thing to it. A lot more complexity going on with the La Scolcha. Fuck you, Brian. $12 rosé. Brian, I'm going to tell you something second here. Rosé isn't good until May earliest, if not June. It's not good. It's a marketing scheme. It hasn't even settled in the bottle right yet. I mean, it needs like 2 months in the bottle before it's good. But they really try to push it in March because it's a marketing thing. But it tastes like bubblegum. Okay, so actually, if you got it from a good producer, then it might be good now. Still, that's the catch with rosé, is that rosé has like a year-long shelf life, like a year and a half, with the exception of some really well-made bandoles, which we'll be trying some later on. But usually you're going to want to drink it May, June, April maybe, but May, June, and then it'll be amazing all throughout that summer. People very often by the fall say, okay, we're done with rosé. But actually the rosé, if it's made by a good producer, should still be good all the way through even the next spring. So really, so actually, Brian, you're doing it right, because you're having that rosé at the best time to have that rosé. But by July, it'll be. I'm not doing AirPods, guys. I say this all the time. I'm not doing AirPods. AirPods mess with my head frequency. They mess with it. Like I felt like my brain was melting. I'm very sensitive to energy. and I was not a fan of the AirPods. So I have them. I have them like monogrammed. Yeah. Anyway, number 2, this has a nice stink to it. Much more complex than what you'd expect for agave. That's nice. That's nice. Let's try the Broglia. Okay, the Broglia is much more like the first one. Kind of simple apple. Ooh, but this one has a little bit of pepper. This is strange. Guys, I was not expecting so much variation. This is supposed to be pretty standard wine. I'm impressed. I might even prefer that to this one because it's more subtle. Let's try this last one. Let's see. Almost nothing here. So you know what? All right. So here's what's going to happen here. Here's what's going to happen here. Okay. This is the lightest colored one, and you know why? Because I bet you that this last Gavi has high yields. There's not any flavor at all there. That is about as white table wine as you get for an Italian white wine. It's fine, you know, sitting in the Piazza Navona, having some pizza for lunch, have a glass of this white wine. It's great. Nothing, no complexity whatsoever. It's a little bit of acid, a little bit of. So definitely the inferior. This one right here. This is definitely the inferior. And these two are the most impressive. And this one's a little more of what I come to expect from Gavi. Quite interesting, though, to have 4 completely different Gavis. I consider this a success. So, just to really quickly answer that question. I'm not going to really answer the question. I think at this point, we just have to leave people to their choices. And if they kind of push it on you, you got to set boundaries around it. I don't know about your work situation. If you're in your work situation, how much are you able to? How's is my connection, guys? I keep getting this connection signal. Is my connection good? How's my connection? Just give me a little comment if my connection's all right. So I want to get into the meat of today's stuff. Okay, good. I would not explain yourself at all. Don't explain yourself at all. It's people can make their own choices with this stuff at this point. Don't bother with that. I don't think you should be advertising it. I don't think there's any point in trying to start fights with these people. They want to start fights with you. So just, move on from it. We're gonna find out one way or another. I will make some little basic comments. I think it feels like it's coming. With that blockage in the Suez Canal, evergreen. It's very interesting. A lot of coincidences. Now you have the Russian fleet and the American fleet on the opposite ends. We'll see what happens. Evergreen. And you can look up what was whose code name for the Secret Service was Evergreen. And then you looked at the different tugboats that were dealing with it. It's very, it's in the comments. It's very interesting. I think we all, and let's also note that all the truthers, no one's given radio silence right now. All the people who have intel, it's all radio silence. And the energy's been pretty crazy. And we had that wonderful presser the other day. Very, very interesting to watch. That first presser. It was quite dazzling, I would say. Quite a dazzling experience. So we're buckled in. Let's see what the next 2 weeks bring. I think it's going to be, check the comments, right? I'm not going to say it. It's going to be very interesting, but I think we are on the precipice because I think that's, let's be honest here. Where else can this go but down? I think we can all agree that there's probably been a benefit to the last 2 months. I think that there has been a benefit to the last 2 months. I can see how it created the proper framing and positioning, but I don't see I think if it goes on longer, I think that things can get messy. So if you're going to play a high tension game, I love tension, but if you're going to play a high tension game, I think that we're tapped out on that point, and it's time to move forward. And I think that that's what's happening, but we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, what I wanted to talk to you guys tonight about was sexual energy, because I posted the other day about, I got some allergies. My nose is like itching. It's like I'm a Coke It's like I'm a coke addict, right? Because I got the itchy nose. Um, I was gonna say something. I was gonna say something. You guys might think of what I was gonna say. I didn't say it. I'm not gonna say it. Um, sexual energy, right? Sexual energy. I talked about how it's good as a man for you to get used to not coming during sex. I think it's a good thing for you to get used to not coming during sex. I don't think I'm not. Now, I want to make a point about this stuff. You can really get involved with this if you go into Taoism, I guess you're supposed to call it. Mantak Chia talks about this a lot. Very good book. I think it's like literally titled "Cultivating Male Sexual Energy." A lot of women don't like that book and they consider Taoism to be, well, it's adjacent. The thing about Tantra is that Tantra has been mostly become some sort of, how do you put it? Tantra's become like a promiscuous kind of thing, like that is just done in the West without any sort of real spiritual backing. It's just kind of a way for people to do like sexual pleasure with each other and to extend it. It's been kind of bastardized and manipulated in the West. But so I personally think the term is a bit messed up now. So I don't really use it. But of course, you can do Tantra the proper way. One of the big things that comes with Tantra, though, and people don't want to talk about this, is that you're really not supposed to be doing this with someone who you're not really connected with. I mean, a lot of the traditions will argue that you shouldn't even be doing it with somebody who you haven't been with for like 7 years. Like it takes 7 years for you to really get to the point of trust with an individual that you can start to do these practices. And maybe that's a long time, and maybe that it doesn't have to be like that. But the point here is that this is not meant for superficial sexual arrangements. You're messing with energy that you shouldn't be messing with in that case. But basically, Taoism had some issues. There are people who a lot of women had some issues with Taoism. They called it sexist because it very much is about actually preserving your own sexual energy and getting sexual energy from women. I want to make a point for you guys, which I think that, just to underline how real this is, that we do get sexual energy from women. Because men, obviously, we give off sexual energy. It's in our semen, right? It's in our cum. But with women, they give it off too. And I don't know, I presume part of it has to do with their fluids, but I think it's more than that. I think it's simply just the act of interacting with a woman, you get brought into her field. And that's the really important thing here. You get some of the energy just simply from being in the field with them. If you ever jerked off and came, and then you had sex with a woman and came, you'll notice you feel very different after it with a woman, right? And that's the thing. No one will tell you, because if we live in such a materialist world where they will tell you that's the same thing, it doesn't matter, but you feel the difference. You really, really feel the difference, right? And it's not just a psychological thing like, oh, well, I had sex, so I feel better. It's not just that. Your energy field, you feel like a big release, but you're less strained. And the reason is because you've gotten an exchange of their energy in the process, but you have given your energy as well. Okay. Taoism was initially developed for kings in China. So emperor, really, and for the aristocracy, because they would have harems of women. And so a lot of it was designed to actually, how are you supposed to continue to have sex with multiple women over a period of time, and gain energy from the process rather than losing it. So a lot of women don't like Taoism. And I have to be honest, I don't go so far as to say that would basically never come, even with their wife, unless they were going to conceive a child. And I get that. I mean, I think but my rule, I'll just tell you guys my rule, because maybe, you know, maybe I'm a feminist, guys. Maybe I'm a feminist. But I think it's fair to give an energy exchange. And while I love to maintain the energy, I love to build it up. I don't necessarily go so far as to think you can never do it. That's a big deal if you do it. But I think the important thing here is that the energy shouldn't be wasted. And so here's my rule. And of course you make mistakes, etc. But here's my rule. Okay. I will never ejaculate unless in some way my wife is going to receive it. Okay. I'm not going to be going into detail, but it has to, she has to receive it. Okay. Otherwise it's, you know, if it's not a good time for her to receive it, then I'm not going to go. Right. I'm not going to go. And I'm not going to go every time anyway. And I think this has been a good compromise, but you can make up your own mind. I will tell you this, if you start to get involved with a lot of these practices, and Nash had some really great stuff in the timeline. Multi-Orgasmic Man is a really amazing reading. He had some videos from a guy, I guess his name was Jonathan Price or something. I'm not familiar with his work, but it seemed like it was pretty good. And I think, frankly, Nash is more experienced in it than I am. But I will say you want to be careful with the edging, because some of it can involve, you know, individual practice. You don't want to be using porn or anything, but individual practice and bringing yourself close and then stopping, bringing yourself and stopping. I would recommend that guys don't go too far with this. Don't push it to the point where you're really, really on the edge, because it can get clogs. And I'm just gonna be level. Like one time when I was doing this, I got like, because you know you also have to pull back, and I got like an inflamed prostate because I was pushing it so much to the limit and then pulling back, pushing it so much to the limit and pulling back. I was almost pulling back it from releasing, and it wasn't good. It wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. So you have to be wary, and they do talk about this in Taoism, the risks of retrograde ejaculation. If you do that, you'll be fine, but that's a real sign for you to like ease off and let yourself come a couple times just to like clear out the system, reset it. There are risks involved with this stuff. So those are some things I wanted to talk about. It's definitely a big superpower, and I think, as it was mentioned, the first 10 minutes are the hardest to last for. But once you get through the first 10 minutes, then you can really last for a lot longer than that. Next topic I want to talk about is actually somewhat adjacent to this. The Manosphere Trauma. And I'm going to tell you about something. It's happened with a couple clients, and it's actually happened to me in the past too. I haven't really talked much about it. But one of the really big issues that the Manosphere does is that, and not that where we're moving the Manosphere, but a lot of the residual basic stuff, is that it is in many ways, because it's so focused on what women do, and it's coming from a position of pain in men, it's focused on how women can cause pain in men, and indication that the woman is not interested in the man. So I'm going to give you an example of this. If you listen to a lot of these accounts on Twitter, you're going to hear them talk about how, oh, you know, they just had sex with this girl. It was amazing, blah, blah, blah. She was all over me. And you hear this stuff about how the girl's kind of like always down to go. And they'll like, that's a sign that I'm alpha. The girl's she's down to go all the time. That means I'm alpha. Okay. Leaving aside just for a second, even the idea that you're kind of in the honeymoon phase, or is this early on, leaving aside all that stuff, there's an assumption, because so many of these guys, and Tony's not one of those guys. So I'm like teaching Tony how a lot of guys think, because I know Tony is like very much a natural, never even understands how guys have these problems. But you're getting, Tony Bruno, by the way, is in the chat right now. Awesome guy. He's got an awesome show. Like, I love it. I'm on there like about once a month, and it's always like spontaneous. One of my favorite things to do. He's really doing a great thing, bringing some great conversations forward. But you have this situation where, let's say something's going on in the woman's life, but let's also say maybe it's not even just that. She maybe feels something about herself. And so after the honeymoon phase is gone, maybe some of the enthusiasm drops down. And maybe it's because at a certain point you were not showing up as you should, whatever. But the point here is that we will personalize what women do. And so your girl you're with doesn't want to have sex, or she's not as enthusiastic. And we have this program in our mind that she doesn't want to have sex right now. That means she doesn't find me attractive. That means I got to do dread. That means what do I got to do? I don't want to be a beta. I got to do something. I got to spike it. I got to keep it high. I got to keep it at this level. In the real world, that doesn't, like, you're not going to be in that space all the time with a girl. And very often, and this has been so funny, it's been so funny, is that I have never told clients to go and, vent and talk about, how hurt they were by what the girl was doing. But I have had them, like, own their emotion. Okay, like, you have some shame here. You have shame about, you're looking for validation. A lot of your identity is dependent on her emotional response. So you own that. You own that stuff, right? And you can, and if, you're pulling back a bit, you can even, and then she can maybe ask, and you can share that this is something that you're working through. Has nothing to do with her. It's not her problem. It's your problem. It's something that you're dealing with. And I have to tell you that, and the assumption, of course, here is that you have an otherwise good relationship. The girl wants the guy. The girl loves the guy, right? But he's got this, like, trigger that something happens, and he's, like, freaks out, right? He thinks that he's now a beta. It's so amazing that the girl, when she hears this, she's like, what the fuck? She's so confused, because the women don't actually understand how, for so many guys, this is so much about their identity. This is so much a part of how they feel about themselves. And so when she's, like, not in the mood for sex, they don't understand how it can really hurt a guy, like, jab it into them. Whereas really, it's like her pain point. Maybe she's feeling unattractive. Maybe she's got some other kind of issue. And so she's pulling back. And that's how a lot of relationships degrade. And so, I talked about this in the last stream. I just want to reemphasize it. This is the return of the king, okay? Not Rush's blog. No offense to that. Anybody like that back in the day. It is actually the return of kings, though. Maybe there's going to be a king, but we are also all kings. The divine masculine, this integrated masculine energy is hitting this planet big time. It's hitting the population. You guys are a part of it. It's a very, very big thing. You're actually not just a part of it. You're part of the epicenter of it. Massive shifts. Guys who have been emotionally repressed for years are getting in touch with their emotions, and not like a gay, not in a very feminine way. They're getting in touch with it in a way that they can own, right? And guys who have been very much in their feminine energy, are now becoming stronger. And I think the Manosphere is doing a good job with that, but we need the balance of both areas, because we got to meet these various guys where they're at, right? We got to meet them on both sides and move them towards this top of the triangle, right? We got to get to this top of the triangle. And when I talk to women, this is their big frustration with men, is they're not moving towards the top of that triangle. They're either weak or they're repressed. They either can't trust them, they don't provide any energy because they're dependent, or they feel nothing from them, they're abusive, they're robotic. That's the way it is with these two types of men. And, we've had all these hijackings, we've had all this stuff with feminism that's distorted it even further, taking that, but that's a major reason that women have had issues, that they need men with more, they need men to be strong, but they need men with emotional bandwidth. That's it. So we're doing that right now. And so if you can speak to some of these things in a relationship, but you speak to it with strength, it's just like, it's amazing. The woman will just open up so much. She'll open up so much. It takes the intimacy to a totally different level. So last thing I'm going to talk about, and I got 10 more minutes, so let me see if I can hit the question as well. But this is an aside. As you guys know, I'm in the rumination process of trying to get some stuff moving with some meetups around the world, really, but I'm going to try to get at least one in the U.S. Got to be honest, I haven't done anything with it yet because I just want to see what happens in the next 2 weeks. Because I think a lot of time to go forward, both personally and on a macro level, depends on kind of things that happen in the next 2 weeks. So waiting on that. But I was working with one client, and he, how are you supposed to meet some girls? And I think everybody, let's be honest here, people are pretty fed up with most of these dating apps. I mean, you get super neurotic. I mean, just look, I'm not, obviously there's good women online, but it's really getting to be like it's so boring. It's such a waste of people's time. But at the same time, cold approaching, it's a great thing to do, but cold approaching has been a little bit harder with the masks. It'll get easier as the weather warms up, but we're definitely in a place right now where it's been harder to date. Social circles have been kind of shut down. Old social circles, at least, have been kind of shut down. Online dating is kind of played out, and cold approaching is maybe a little bit more difficult. So where do we proceed from here? I'm going to tell you guys what I told him, and he's already now got a very, very high quality girl lined up. We'll see how it plays out, but I have a good intuition about it. And what I told him, I said, we're going to play some asymmetric warfare with this. Because he's got a bit of a social media following. And he posts about stuff relating to men. I'm like, start talking more about relationships. Start talking more about intimacy. Start talking more about, talking from this divine, integrated masculine standpoint. Start putting it out there. And you're going to start to polarize the women online who are talking about it on the other side. Because what we're seeing right now, I mean, we see it with all the women entering into the manosphere, but what we're seeing right now is a lot of women who were, I guess you could say, in more spirituality circles, playing with a lot of feminine energy, and they just got really tired of it. And there's a significant cohort of those women who have actually done the inner work, who are like, I'm done with all the bullshit. They're breaking out of the psyops that were very much heavy in that community around like social justice, etc., feminism, and they're moving more towards wanting to be in like a healthy, high-level relationship with a man, right? They want a man now. There's a lot of these women, they're coming out of the woodworks, and that's why they're coming over here, but they're also on Instagram, they're also on other places. And so I was suggesting, I was like, put out more of that material, and you'll start to polarize women like that. And it happens. It happens. So I was like, that's good. I've never done that before. It was an experiment. And it worked in like a month. Actually, maybe less than a month. So, you guys on Twitter, Twitter is a dating app. So if you guys want to start to meet women, really start to put out material that's going to draw these women towards them. Because I got to tell you, I know there's some women watching this. There's a lot of thirst out there. There's a lot of feminine females thirsting for men. Okay, men who are in this integrated level, they're thirsting. And they're lurking, and look, put the stuff out there. They're out there. They're waiting. They're waiting for you to slide into the DMs. So I think this kind of asymmetric warfare is going to be a great way we can meet people. Of course, we want to bring as much of this online into person, which is one of the reasons that Sophia left. I think Sophia had her personal reasons for doing that, and I don't blame her. I would love to take a year off social media. I think it would level me up spiritually, but I also don't think I can do that based on what I need to do here. But 100%, we need to take these things offline. But a great way to do that, I think meeting people through this vector is really important, because my sort of sense is that any of the real world things that we have, unless a community is already established and new people come in, the communities are going to come from online. We're hijacking the hijackers, right? The internet, the control system. We're hijacking that to build our own separate structures, our own separate communities. But trying to find those people organically is very difficult. We have to just be honest about this. It's very difficult because there isn't a single place that hasn't been constructed with the intention we're talking about that does not have minimum 25% to 35% sleepers. There's just not a single place ever out here. And for many people, it's the opposite. And no one knows how to find each other. The internet's a really great way that we can bypass that and we can bring it together. So that's kind of where we're at with that. You guys have any questions? Because I feel like the question I have here is quite long. I might save it for our last Periscope. We're going to have one more Periscope probably Monday. Because, Periscope shuts down on Wednesday. I want to do one more after this. And all this stuff is getting saved, by the way, and we're going to figure out an alternative. I think Twitter Live already exists, so we probably just have to use a different platform. Yeah, and I should have already been using Twitter Live, but I just kind of feel like I wanted to milk it to the end. I want to wait for the last full moon, because I think the full circle this stuff, full moon to Easter, I feel is probably when we're going to start to see something break. Then I will be doing that on YouTube. And guys, you know what? As far as that, you got a lot of you guys have been talking about my birthday party. I actually think I might do something in New York, because my intention, I don't understand with these real estate people. They're so scummy. Our lease ended, and we said, all right, they want us to extend. We'll make some arrangement. Last minute, they wanted some arrangement. I was like, look, we don't really care. Like, we're not going to stay another year. We're leaving. Hopefully leaving, but we're definitely leaving New York. What are we supposed to do, right? Like, we could stay another month or two, but it has to be month by month, and we need a discount. And they agreed. We can take a month by month, 25% discount lease. So we're like, fine, because we're only there like maximum 10 days a month. Try to come down twice a month. And now, and we got no information about, they weren't doing direct deposit anymore. So, like, trying to figure out how I can pay them. And they're like, oh, well, you actually have to pay the full rent. The deal was only if you were going to stay for a full year. It's like, read the fucking thread. Like, we confirmed with the managers that this was the deal. Like, read the fucking thread. I'm sorry, I'm venting a little bit. So, but the point of this stuff is that I don't know if I'm going to be in New York as a result past April. Brother, you got to go do a new church. That's the point. You got to go do a new church, because that church is then dead. It's a dead church. Anyway, our intention was to stay in New York through June. My birthday is early June. So what I would love to do, I'd love to set the intention to do early June, big party, Central Park, New York. I would love that, to do a big party, Central Park, New York. So we'll see. But anyway, guys, one more Periscope to go. Much love to all of you. As always, be blessed. Be blessed. And enjoy this energy. The energy's coming in so good, guys. It's succulent. All right, I'll see you guys.